Yep. Hit it.
The waiting is over. The New York Rangers are the Stanley Cup champions.
40-footer for Ennis. He got it! He got it! Perfection in Pittsburgh!
You believe in miracles? Yes! The Bills make me wanna.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
This is the Jube Alert on WNIA Radio. Here are your hosts, Greg Jube and Kyle Barker.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, October 19th, 2015. And this is the Jube Alert on WNIA, Niagara University's Mix and More Radio. And this is, once again, alright, alongside Kyle Barker, I am Greg Jube. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Greg. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Just waiting for the weekend now. So, let's get into all the good stuff that happened this past week. Let's start off with the Seahawks and the Panthers. How about what a game it was we got to see yesterday. Seattle coming back to the home of the 12th man. Carolina has had a kind of a budding rivalry with Seattle the last couple of years. But Carolina just wasn't able to take that next step. And we saw it year in and year out. Carolina got close. Defense played great. But Seattle's defense was just that little step ahead. And that made a big difference in the game. And yesterday may have shown that there might be a change of something coming through in the wind up in the land of the 12th man. Just Seattle, I don't know what it is. Seattle's O-line played atrocious yesterday. There's no doubt about that. They were pretty horrific. Carolina took advantage of that, certainly, and you saw a second and second over and over again. I mean, Thomas Davis came up with a huge one at the end of the game. But you know what? I don't know if Seattle's just trying to find answers, trying to find the pieces, or what. But it's not looking good for the Seahawks right now. Carolina won 27-23. Thanks to a Greg Olsen touchdown from Cam Newton in the fourth quarter. I mean, you look, Carolina, you know, they just, I don't even know how to describe this game. I really don't. Because Seattle, kudos to Carolina for winning, but Seattle has blown fourth quarter leads now against the Rams, the Packers, last week against the Bengals, a 17-point lead, and now yesterday against Carolina at home. So, your thoughts to start off with that, I guess.
It wasn't as crazy as the Denver-Cleveland game, but again, as you said, just to add on to it a little bit, Seattle's O-line did not play good. Russell Wilson had an okay day. It wasn't spectacular. The Seahawks need to be able to start finishing down the stretch in the fourth quarter. They've struggled. They've been outscored tremendously in the fourth quarter ever since the Super Bowl. There's a stat on the TV, I believe it was like 67-10 or something like that. They got to figure out how to close games. And, you know, for the Carolina Panthers, good on them. They're 5-0. That's a team that's for real. The New York Jets are a team that's also for real. So these sleeper teams that are doing good, you know, the Jets are 4-1. Good things coming out of Carolina this week as of right now. And, I mean, Cam Newton had an okay day. I mean, he was 20 for 36, 269, a touchdown. He did have 2 picks. The one to Cam Chancellor probably wasn't all his fault. But, I mean, if you're Pete Carroll, what do? You got to fix it really quickly here. But anyway, we're going to take a look at Pete Carroll's post-game press conference right now.
We've made a mistake. Made a mistake on the calls. Guys got confused on the signal, and so it was unfortunate, obviously, and they get an easy play.
Was that because it came in late?
No, you can go ahead and try to figure that part out and all that. They got the wrong. They didn't get the same signal, and that's what happened.
I mean, you look at a lot of things were different yesterday. I mean, you look at Carolina offensively took advantage of Seattle's offensive inefficiencies. First down, just by comparison, were 25-14. And by the run, it was 10-4. So Seattle's run D really struggled yesterday. And then you look at the sack game. Carolina ended up with 4 sacks total, including 2 by Kawan Short, the defensive tackle. And like I said, Thomas Jones on the rush, coming in and being able to run by Fred Jackson, getting to Russell Wilson in the 4th. That was a huge play on 3rd down. But you know what was a nice sign to see for Seattle was Jimmy Graham. Really had been non-existent the first few weeks of the year. And yesterday, 8 catches for 140 yards, including some really big plays right down the stretch near at the end. Nobody else for Seattle really doing great. Russell Wilson.
Both tight ends played great.
That is true. Greg Olsen also, Seattle could not stop nor contain him. 7 catches for 131 yards and a score. Take out those 2 tight ends. The leading man in terms of yards for any team was Lockett for the Seahawks at 43 yards. Quick couple stats. Russell Wilson for the Seahawks, 18 for 30 for 241 in a score. Cam Newton, 20 for 36 for 269. 1 touchdown out of the air, 1 on the ground, and 2 picks. Jonathan Stewart had 20 carries for 78 yards and 2 scores. So now the Seahawks, who have now fallen to 2-4, will go ahead and play. I'm trying to find it as we speak right now. Seahawks will be playing on Thursday night this week. So we can take a little look at that later. The Seahawks at Levi Stadium against the 49ers, while on the other hand we have the Panthers, who are still undefeated, and now thanks to the Falcons losing to the Saints on Thursday night, they will be home back in Carolina against the Eagles next Sunday night on NBC. So let's shift gears now with that in mind. Let's shift to college football. And I wish I had seen this play live. I saw Bama Auburn, but this was pretty impressive, pretty memorable too, especially because it was the rivalry. If Michigan is playing, Appalachian State, nobody's going to really care about this play, but for those of you who haven't seen it, Michigan State's playing Michigan in the Big House in Ann Arbor. And Michigan is up 23-21 with
10 seconds
10
to go.
left. 10 left.
4th down and 2 from Michigan State's 46.
Yeah. And Michigan's getting ready for a punt, and then this happens.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
How about that?
Boy, there are videos everywhere of Michigan fans crying, including one in particular. I know one guy just went off in tears afterward. And, of course, a couple of the few Spartan fans that were there certainly were loud and proud, but wow, that was something. Especially, Big Ten football is so big, and Michigan is a stadium that can host well over 100,000 people. But, wow. I think that's the only word to describe it. It's just wow. Now, for Jalen Watts Jackson, as Michigan State, number 7th, did come out and beat number 12 Michigan. The sophomore defensive back who made that play, Jalen Watts Jackson, got it and returned it over 40 yards for the ending. But when he was mobbed by Michigan State players, he suffered an injury, gave a thumbs up as he was being carted off the field. He did suffer a hip injury. It's being described as a broken or dislocated hip. He will miss the rest of the season, but man, what a play that was to get his name out there. But obviously, best of luck to him in recovery. But
the hip was broken as he was being tackled into the end zone. I'm sure the mob pile did not help either. Because I was wondering, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the game. I'm like, he threw that ball. He hit the ground and he threw the ball right away. Did you recognize that?
Right.
See that? And I was like, that is. I initially thought like it was pure excitement, and then you started watching the replays, and it was like, what is going on? But it's unfortunate that he has to have such a great play, and he has to go to the hospital after. But what an effort! And initially, if you saw the play, he should have been tackled. There was, I forget the Michigan player. There was a block. It was a really nice block, and he was able to get in. It was a crazy play at the end of the game there at the Big House.
You look at Kendrys Morales had one for the Angels. He had a walk-off hit in baseball and suffered a big injury. Coming into the pile, and he was done for the year after that. And that was, in May of 2010, and then he was done the rest of the season. But wow, so Michigan State, obviously they're 7 now. Certainly help their chances for the playoff, at least for right now. Michigan State will be home against Indiana Saturday at 3:30, while the Wolverines, obviously, be interested to see how far they've fallen. They will be at Minnesota Saturday night at 8. So let's shift gears now. How about quick run on the MLB Division Series? Let's start with the AL quickly. Toronto is now in the same hole that they were before, as Toronto and Toronto and Kansas City faced off. Edison Volquez went in Game 1 and just shut them down, which was really impressive. I thought Edison Volquez has really turned around his career, and having Ray Search with the Pirates last year really helped, because before, when he was with the Padres, the Dodgers, coming up in the Reds organization, yes, he was a good pitcher, but man, did he walk a lot of people. His his walks per 9 was pretty gruesome, even though his strikeouts per 9 were really good, but he just walked too many people. And now you're seeing that change. Last year, they had the confidence to start him in the wild card game, and then you look yesterday, the other day in Game 1, he pitched phenomenal. And then you look at Game 2, was it yesterday? No, not yesterday.
It was,
it had to be Saturday.
Saturday, because the travel day was yesterday. Yeah.
Right. Saturday night in Toronto. The Blue Jays, I don't know what to tell you about David Price. Man, it's sad to see, whether you like him or not. It's just destructive. That's all that you could describe that 7th inning, giving up 5 runs and losing a lead. Just destructive, especially in confidence.
Blue Jays need to start swinging the bat. They're not getting the extra base hits that they usually do, and those big extra base hits are what have propelled that team from subpar in the AL East to top of the AL East to best team in the American League at the end of the season, and as many people thought they were, and now they got to get the bats going. They haven't been able to hit. Haven't been able to hit on the Royals pitchers. They haven't been able to hit out of the Royals bullpen. It changes a little bit with them going to Toronto, much more hitter-friendly ballpark in Toronto with the Rogers Center. It's going to be interesting, especially since Marcus Stroman's on the mound, so that gives the Blue Jays an automatic advantage. And Johnny Cueto's on the mound for the Royals. Now, Cueto has done nicely in the playoffs, but you got to remember the regular season when he was with the Royals, he struggled a little bit. He was 4 for 7. He's been coming on a little bit lately, but that 4 for 7 kind of lingers in the back of your mind. Maybe he can slip up again, kind of like Arrieta slipped up last night. You just never know. Never know.
There was a stat, according to Pedro Gomez of ESPN, he tweeted this out today, that 78% of all teams that have had a 2-0 lead in a championship series, 2-0 lead going home, they win those 78% of the time. So,
crazy.
You look at Texas, though. Texas blew it for themselves in the divisional round. Now you look at the championship series round, you got, possibly one more game. Possibly you could have, X amount of more games. You could get up to 7. So, certainly not over, because the Blue Jays proved that they could do it in the division series against Texas, but I just think Kansas City's got too much in the tank. I really do. I think Kansas City's going to ride this ship and make it back to the World Series.
I think they're going to, too. I think the Royals are going to finish this out in 5 or 6.
So, yeah, that is the Stroman and Cueto tonight in Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium as the Blue Jays try to hang on against the Royals. Moving on quickly to the National League Championship Series before we take a break. Cubs and Mets. Daniel Murphy has really been a godsend for the Mets so far, although interesting enough, he's hit a couple home runs now, but a report came out, from earlier today, that according to the New York Daily News, that the Mets do not still plan to re-sign impending free agent Daniel Murphy, despite his playoff success. It wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened. People forget. In 2009 for the Yankees, the World Series MVP was Hideki Matsui. Hideki Matsui then went to the West Coast, didn't play up to what you saw in the playoffs with the Yankees, went to the Angels, the A's, and then called it a career. Teams, it's a business now. People don't stay with teams forever. So if Daniel Murphy goes, regardless of the Mets, if they make it to the World Series, if they win the World Series, if they lose in this round and collapse, I mean, I don't see... He's not... It would be different if it was David Wright, and David Wright in this contract talk. But because it's a role player in Daniel Murphy, a guy who's had ups and downs, a guy who's certainly been there a while, I just don't... It's making mountains out of molehills, really. I mean, yes, he's a very good player, but he doesn't mean as much to them as, say, David Wright does, or any of their young pitchers. I mean, Daniel Murphy's been with the Mets since 2008, and in that time he was an all-star last year, and that's his biggest accolade. Any thoughts on anything in this series, including that, or Arrieta, or...
He's got a pretty good resume as of right now in the postseason. He's destroying teams single-handedly. He ruined the Dodgers season single-handedly. And last night, his home run in the first inning really put the game out of the way.
He's homered in 3 straight postseason games. That's in the air to right. That's pretty deep. That ball is gone. Daniel Murphy has struck again.
I mean, it's crazy. It was a curveball down and away. That's a pitch you just don't hit out of ballparks like that. And he tracked it down and from his knees sent it just fair. And it makes a 3-0 hole on the Cubs. Put the game away. Absolutely put the game away on the Cubs. Cubs aren't going to get 3 runs on Syndergaard and the bullpen the Mets have. Not a chance. Game was over before it even started.
So the Mets and the Cubs will go to Chi-Town on the north side tomorrow. And I believe is it John Lester tomorrow or Hendricks?
Kyle Hendricks tomorrow will face Jacob deGrom.
Hendricks and deGrom. Boy, that's a bit of a skewed pitching matchup.
Nervous, very nervous for it. The Cubs bat need to get going. The 500 and ridiculous batting averages we've seen out of Baez and Soler were non-existent last night, and the trend of Rizzo and Bryant struggling continued again last night. And Schwarber really struggled last night, too. He went 0 for 4 4 strikeouts. Not a typical day for Kyle Schwarber at all.
All right, so we will see if both the Royals and the Mets can finish out these series, or if the Blue Jays and the Cubs can hold on. When we come back, we're going to talk about all the other NFL games. We talked a little bit about the big matchup between the Carolina and Seattle, how Tom Brady fared yesterday, and could Aaron Rodgers and the Packers hold on against a mighty tough Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. This is the Jube Alert on WNIA Radio. Hey everybody, this is Greg Jubert here. Are you interested in music such as pop rock, rap, and R&B? Are you interested in catching up on what's trending in the world of sports and around the area? Well, tune into the Jefffish Show starring Joey Jeffrey Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern on WNIA. It'll be a fun and exciting hour with Joey and the rest of the gang. That's the Jefffish Show Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern on WNIA, Niagara University's Mix and More Radio.
On Fox and TBS.
Welcome back to the Jube Alert, live in the Gallagher Center basement here at NU. Here are your hosts, Greg Jubert and Kyle Barker.
Okay, here we go again. This is the Monday recap of all the excitement of Monday in America of the NFL. That was a horrible name. So let's get right to it. Let's go through all the NFL games and all the excitement that happened yesterday. Let's start off in local Orchard Park as the Bengals came in 5-0 against the beat-up Bills. Tyrod Taylor was not at full strength and did not start for the Bills. E.J. Manuel instead took the helm. The Bills hung on for a little, but the Bengals' high-flying passing offense just proved to be too much. Andy Dalton was 22 for 33 for 243, including 3 scores. Didn't even really use A.J. Green that much. Marvin Jones proved to be the key player that the Bills could not contain. 9 catches for 95 yards and a score. E.J. Manuel, 28 for 42, 263. 1 touchdown to Sammy Watkins, a rushing touchdown, and a pick. LaShawn McCoy had his best game as a Bill, 17 carries on 90 yards and a score. Sammy Watkins on his touchdown catch right before halftime was injured with the ankle. He is not expected to play against Jacksonville, but he did make the trip to London, unlike defensive tackle Kyle Williams. It is also reported by Adam Schefter that wide receiver Percy Harvin will not be suiting up for the Bills next Sunday in London against the Jags.
Moving on to Cleveland, Ohio, the Denver Broncos remained undefeated with a 26-23 win over the Browns. Peyton Manning shook off 3 interceptions and drove Denver and range for Brandon McManus' 34-yard field goal with 4:56 to go in the extra frame, giving the unbeaten Broncos a 26-23 win. The extra period came after a frantic fourth quarter in which Cleveland took the lead on an interception return, only to have Manning take it back 14 seconds later on a 75-yard touchdown pass. And then there was the end of the game. Was it a catch? Who was the one that caught that ball, Greg? Help me out here. At the end of the game, that wasn't a touchdown, and then faked an injury.
That wasn't a catch to begin with.
Well,
you see the ball went around at the bottom, and the nose of the ball went and brushed the ground.
The bottom line is, crazy game. Somehow, some way, the Broncos are still undefeated. They win 26-23.
To Detroit we go. The Lions were seeking their first win of the season, while the Bears were trying to get their third straight victory after 2 very nice games against Oakland and Kansas City. Detroit was down a lot early. Matthew Stafford goes and hits 6-yard touchdown to Calvin Johnson in the end zone with 21 seconds in the fourth. But the Lions' special teams and defense couldn't hang on. The Bears would set up a 29-yard field goal by Robbie Gould to tie the game at 34. And then with 2:29 left in overtime, Matt Prater hit a 27-yard winner after Matt Stafford threw a bomb to Calvin Johnson over the leaping defender. 57-yard pass. Calvin Johnson, 6 catches for 166 yards in that score. Lance Moore, 5 catches for 106 yards in a score. Matt Stafford, 27 for 42 for 405 yards, 4 TDs and a pick. Jay Cutler, 26 for 41 for 353 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Big day for Alshon Jeffrey, too. 8 catches for 147 yards and a score. So Detroit comes away with their first win of the season, and the Bears just couldn't hang on for win number 3.
We'll get to that last touchdown in a little bit here on the Jube. Moving on, though, to Jacksonville, Florida, the Houston Texans had proved to 2-4 after Brian Hoyer threw 3 touchdown passes on third down. 2 were to DeAndre Hopkins, and the Houston Texans beat the Jaguars 31-20. Hoyer regained a starting job last week against Indianapolis and looked more than deserving of the spot against, it was at least, the Jaguars, who have now lost their 4th straight game and has surely raised more questions about Gus Bradley's job security. Again, the Texans get the win in Jacksonville 31-20.
To TCF Bank Stadium we go in Minneapolis as the Chiefs battled the Vikings. The Chiefs trying to help and save their season without Jamal Charles, who's probably done for the year, while the Vikings try to go 3-0 and undefeated at home. Adrian Peterson was on the sideline for much of the game late for the Vikings. He had 60 yards for 26 carries, but the real star for the Vikings was wide receiver Stephon Diggs, ended up with 129 yards on 7 catches. The Chiefs tried their best, but fell away short. The Vikings win 16-10. Teddy Bridgewater, 17 for 31, 249 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Travis Kelce, the leading receiver for the Chiefs, 5 catches for 88 yards. The leading rusher for the Chiefs was Sharkandrick West. Not Niall Davis. Sharkandrick West, 9 carries for 33 yards. Alex Smith, 22 for 37 for 282 and a score. Kansas City now falls to 1-5.
On to New York in the Meadowlands. The New York Jets have a strong second half, and they improve to 4-1 on the season. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for another score, and the Jets overcame a sloppy first half to defeat the banged-up Washington Redskins 34-20. Chris Ivory ran for 146 yards and a touchdown on 20 carries for the Jets, and for the first time since 2010, they are 4-1. Again, Jets defeat the struggling Redskins 34-20.
To Heinz Field we go, where the Cardinals, coming off a strong offensive performance against Detroit, went in to battle the Steelers. Mike Vick was injured in the third quarter with a hamstring injury, so Landry Jones, the former man out of Oklahoma, known for replacing Sam Bradford at Oklahoma when he went down with an injury, came in and shut down the Cardinals. Him and Martavis Bryant. Bryant coming off his 4-game suspension. Landry Jones, 8 for 12 for 168 yards and 2 scores. both to Bryant. One, a leaping catch right in the back of the end zone. That was very nice. And then an 88-yard catch and run to seal the deal. Martavis Bryant ended up with 6 catches, 137 yards, and 2 scores. Le'Veon Bell, 24 rushes for 88 yards. As for the Cardinals, Carson Palmer, 421 yards, 29 for 45, a touchdown and 2 picks. Excuse me. 10 catches and 196 yards for John Brown. And Larry Fitzgerald, 8 catches for 93 yards. But Steelers defense and Martavis Bryant came up big. Steelers improved to 4-2.
On to Nashville, Tennessee. After losing 3 in a row, the Miami Dolphins get a statement win against the Tennessee Titans, 38-10. And Dan Campbell's debut as the interim coach. Cameron Wake got 4 sacks and forced 2 fumbles, all in the first half yesterday. Miami had been one of the 2 teams in the NFL without a rushing touchdown, but Javaris Landry was able to get a score yesterday. Again, the Miami Dolphins get the win, 38-10, in Dan Campbell's debut.
Moving on now, we talked about Carolina and Seattle. Let's go to Lambeau, where the Chargers battled the Packers yesterday. Phillip Rivers went 43 for 65 for 503 yards, and those 2 scores too. Keenan Allen, 14 catches for 157 yards. San Diego's running game was non-existent. Melvin Gordon, the leading rusher, 7 carries for 29 yards. As for the Pack, what did the Pack do at home? They win, and Aaron Rodgers usually doesn't throw picks, unlike last week. Rodgers 16 for 29, 255, and 2 scores, including one to James Jones, who had a couple of catches on the day. James Starks really took the majority of the reps. 10 carries, 112 yards, and a 65-yard touchdown. Green Bay is now 6-0. San Diego crumbles again with a chance to win. Phillip Rivers trying to hit Danny Woodhead in the corner of the end zone. Didn't work out that way. San Diego will now fall to 2-4.
Impressive that Phillip Rivers had over 500 yards passing yesterday, but still lost to the Green Bay Packers. Moving on now to San Francisco, the 49ers get the win. Colin Kaepernick completed a 76-yard touchdown to ex-Raven star Torrey Smith. Joe Flacco threw 2 interceptions, and the 49ers to beat the Baltimore Ravens 25-20 on Sunday. They snap a 4-game losing streak. Phil Dawson kicked 4 field goals for his first wins since Week 1 for San Francisco. They are now 2-4. Anquan Bolden,
another former Raven,
another star for the Ravens. He made a 51-yard reception late and set up Quentin Patton's 21-yard touchdown catch for the win. Again, that is the 49ers getting a win to get back on track, 25-20 over the Baltimore Ravens.
And the final game on Sunday Night Football last night, the Colts hosting the Patriots. Andrew Luck back after Matt Hasselbeck had 2 games. Luck went 30 for 50 for 312 yards and 3 scores. Tom Brady threw his first pick of the season. Ended up in the hands of Mike Adams, who returned it 14 yards to the house. Indy stayed with it for the longest time. But Tom Brady just did what Tom Brady does, and that's just win. 23 for 37, 312 yards, 3 TDs, and that 1 pick. LeGarrette Blount had the big day, not Deion Lewis. 16 carries for 93 yards and a score. Ran all over the Colts defense, much like he did last winter in the AFC Championship game. And Damian Amendola had 7 catches for 105 yards. So there are your roundups for this past Sunday.
The Colts ran the worst fake punt in football history yesterday.
Very safe to say.
Insane. I've never seen anything in my life like it. They all move away from the formation, and then the wide receiver comes over, takes the snap. I have no idea what that was. I couldn't, like, the punter wasn't even whatever.
Abysmal.
Yeah, abysmal is a nice term for it.
Now, there's something that I think we should talk about before we go to break. And it happened in that Chicago-Detroit game. You talked about the Emmanuel Sanders play. But something else really interesting happened yesterday. A really controversial play that came around about in the middle of the game, and it really has sparked a lot of controversy naturally. And it's about this play that Matt Stafford threw it to Golden Tate in the end zone. And you see Golden Tate come down with it in the end zone, but when the play happens, the ball is flung in the air and ends up in the hands of a Bears defender who lands on the end zone, and originally it is ruled an interception with a touchback. So That was in the second quarter. Lions are up 14-13, trying to pad on a lead. 53 seconds to go. So this play happens, and when you watch it, it's really weird, and they go and review it. And Golden Tate comes down with both feet, but as that second foot's coming down, the ball is stripped kind of in the air by the defender, 23, and lands in the hands of Anderson, 58, the linebacker, who, as it's flung around, yes, it is 58, yes, Anderson. I mean, I don't know what you want to call this play. And then it got converted over and overturned into a touchdown.
It's crap. It's awful. How in the world? Now, I mean,
now the Lions have been the Lions have been, in their defense, have been on the short end of this too before. I mean, you look at, against the Bears in Week 1, I believe it was 2010. Calvin Johnson had the catch that was ruled a no catch because he, quote unquote, didn't have full control, even though everybody saw that is a touchdown to the human eye. So I don't really know what the NFL is going to do about this. I think certainly some change might need to be made. I mean, it's like, what's a catch, what's not a catch? I mean, it's becoming a little too much. Now, according to sources that told Bleacher Report today, team executives are questioning if the NFL should get a new rule czar after this controversial Golden Tate touchdown, which ended up helping the Lions come back and win. So we'll have to see about that. But
well, here's the audio from it real quickly. We're just going to play the audio very, very, very quickly. Oh, that's if it wants to load. Well, maybe we're not going to play the audio, Greg.
Well, boy, you and Tech.
There we go.
Stafford, end zone. The ball is juggled, and the Bears come up with it.
Ruled an interception.
An interception by
It should have been an interception.
Looked like a touchdown, but not held on to by Tate.
Right away, they're saying he didn't hold on to it.
And Golden Tate's got his hands up, loud and proud, calling it a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not a touchdown. That's not even close. I mean, he has to have control, and I know you can. Oh, God. What'd you think, Greg? I thought it was terrible.
I just want consistency.
Yeah, same here.
That's all we need.
Same here.
I mean, that was a big play. I mean, that was a deciding factor. Detroit's up 1, and they can pad their lead to 8 or 9, or, just 7, if they don't get anything on an extra point or 2-pointer. But, I mean, they're going, and Detroit is right there in the red zone. I mean, what if this was a playoff game? What if this was Dez Part 2? What if this was another instance of this? Like, fool, what's that saying? Fool me once, blah, 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 fool me twice. I mean, it's a slippery slope. That's, I think, the best word to describe it, slippery slope. So, I mean, all the people in Detroit breathe a sigh of relief, but in Chicago, I mean, Bears don't have
I'd hate to be a Bears fan this morning.
Well, the Bears, aren't exactly.
It's a horrible game
condition
to watch. You have two teams that are struggling immensely, and to lose with a play like that's. If the Dez Bryant catch is not a catch, how in the world is that a touchdown? Anyone with two functioning eyes can make the argument for that. Now, you may think that Dez Bryant's non-catch or catch wasn't a catch. You can say that. But if that wasn't a catch, how in the world is that not a touchdown?
I don't know. I'm not a rules official.
Ugh,
I can't tell you. I'm not Mike Carey or Mike Pereira or whatever his name
they're both dummies.
That's nice. Yeah, well, I think we're just gonna leave it at that. Then
we're gonna leave it at that before I get more and more annoyed.
You win. So for those of you who had Golden Tate and won your fantasy league by less than 6,
congratulations!
Wow, you really lucked out.
Congratulations!
Kudos to you. Yeah. So again, that's Detroit winning in overtime, 37-34 over the Bears. When we come back, we're gonna have our page 2s all lined up and a little look at Niagara sports this weekend, including the home openers for hockey against Robert Morris this Friday and Saturday night. This is the Jube Alert on WNIA Radio.
Hey, this is Greg Jubert and Kyle Barker, and this is WNIA, Niagara University's Mix and More Radio.
Catch our show, The Jube Alert, Mondays and Fridays, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern, and make sure to connect with us on Facebook and Twitter.
That's the Jube Alert, Mondays and Fridays from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern on WNIA.
once people start listening, we got to sit.
Hit on the throw. He has his man. It's Hogan into the end zone for the Buffalo touchdown. Taylor's going to take a shot. He's got his man Harvin caught in the end zone for the Buffalo touchdown.
Buffalo Bills football on Fox and CBS all season long.
This is the Jubilee on WNIA Radio. Here are your hosts, Greg Jube and Kyle Barker.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Jubilee here in the Gallagher Center basement at Niagara University. Kyle Barker here alongside with Greg Jubert on a wonderful Monday afternoon here at Niagara University. Crazy sports weekend, lots of stories to get to today on our Page 2 segment. We're going to get cracking. We're going to get right into it here we're going to start with we're not going to start with Coach K. I apologize. We are going to start today with the Dallas Mavericks guard, Darren Williams. He will be missing up to at least the season opener. He has a strained right calf injury. He will miss some time for the Dallas Mavericks. Moving on now to Coach K. Coach K says it's time for USA basketball to move on. He will announce and will leave his post as the USA men's national team after the Rio Games in 2016. Moving on to a little bit more NBA news here. Jeremy Lin is back in the news, and he's also back in the news with the New York Knicks. Report came out the other day that Jeremy Lin's agent reached out to the Knicks over the summer and see whether the club was interested in signing his client, but the Knicks declined the overture, according to reports. Moving on now to the National Hockey League, Tampa Bay defenseman Nikita Nesterov has been suspended 2 games for his boarding hit on Dallas Stars forward Curtis McKenzie. This is Nesterov's first suspension in the National Hockey League. The Titans were not happy yesterday about Oliver Vernon's low hit on Marcus Mariota. Titans coach Ken Wisenhunt described the play as a BS football play. Moving on now, we might remember the opener between Virginia Tech and Ohio State. Virginia Tech's quarterback Michael Brewer suffered a broken collarbone that game. Well, Michael Brewer is back and is expected to be in the starting role Saturday against the Duke Blue Devils. Michigan Athletic Director Jim Hackett has asked fans to stop directing violent notes at his punter Blake O'Neill. He says the Wolverine fans would never lose the game twice, but he says that these comments are thoughtless and not deserving of that. Moving on now to the NCAA, SMU players have pleaded for an appeal. The school is unwavering. Only a school or individual named in the report can appeal a committee on infractions decisions, an NCAA official told ESPN on Wednesday. As you remember, there was that academic fraud incident with SMU's basketball team. It is now carried over into now the golf team, and their number one golfer will not be allowed to participate in the NCAA championships. Moving on now to Niagara University sports over the weekend. The women's volleyball team got a 3-0 set win over St. Peter's University. The men's soccer team lost to St. Peter's University 1-0, and on Saturday, the women's volleyball team had a 3-1 loss over Rider University. Men's swimming and diving visited Fredonia State. They won 137-93. And moving on this week on Wednesday, women's soccer is at home Wednesday, 7 p.m. against Canisius, while the men's team travels to Buffalo Wednesday night to play Canisius, the same thing. Also, men's hockey starts this weekend. 2 games, doubleheader, Friday, Saturday night against Robert Morris University. And that is your Page 2's and Niagara University sports rundown for today.
Obviously, Purple Eagle hockey, that's something to really get excited about. The start of the new season. Hopefully, flip the page on last season. Start new, start fresh. Hopefully, get something different in the system. Hopefully, change can be a good thing. So we will see about that. Now, I want to talk about that Jeremy Lin thing for a little bit. I understand about how last season the Knicks were pretty horrific. 17-65, worst in the NBA. You don't want a controversy to form. You already formed enough when Carmelo decided to play the All-Star game in New York and then buy out for surgery, which was a little BS in my mind, and I could go off about that, why that would be wrong for, I could understand completely why New Yorkers would be enraged about that. But if you're the Knicks, you really should have made that Jeremy Lin move. Because you're talking about a guy who not only you can use as an image and a booster in terms of tickets and merchandise and the whole landscape, but also look at who you have, okay? Your two big assets you have this year that you got from other teams. You got Robin Lopez from Portland, and you took away Aaron Aflalo, who's played for Orlando and Denver. And Portland, too. I forgot about Portland. Nice complementary pieces. But the Knicks, that's not going to take you from 17 wins to 40. It's not going to take you from 17 to 30. And you look at their draft, I mean, that poor guy, I forgot where he's from, Lithuania or what, but man, that guy gets ripped. For no reason. Because he's a big dude and he didn't play, college ball in the U.S.
Well, to say that, he actually had a very nice summer league. And he's had a nice preseason so far. I think he's going to be half decent for the next. Kristaps Porzingis is his name?
But the Knicks' window of opportunity is already gone. You had
they didn't even have one.
You had it. No, your opportunity was that year you had everything together, and the Knicks went in as the 2 or 3 seed. They beat the Celtics in the first round and swept them, and then they went and lost to Indiana, the better team in that series. But they had it all lined up pretty much perfectly right there in that season with Carmelo and Stoudemire and Chandler and everybody else. And then the next season they thought that we can do it again, and they lost to a pretty poor Atlanta Hawks team for that 8th final playoff spot. And then last season happened, and it was like the dump button was hit over and over again. So now you're literally down. I mean, they were scrapped to nothing almost last year. So having Jeremy Lin would be a huge asset. Because he knows how to handle New York. He knows what it takes to play in New York. He can handle the lights, and he proved it. I mean, he is a big deal. Linsanity was existing in New York. And instead, now he's in Charlotte, which, man, I want to just touch on my own give me a minute to talk about Charlotte. I mean, 2 years ago, pretty good team. They saw what Al Jefferson meant to them. Got to be the 7th seed, got swept in a shocker by LeBron and the Heat. Last season was a bit of a struggle. Finished 11th in the East, 33-49. Kemba missed time. Lots of other problems. Michael Gilchrist is going to miss a little bit of time with his injury, like we've talked about before. Kemba Walker is back. You still have Al Jefferson, who's a legitimate forward center in this league, and is an incredible man at getting double-doubles. You brought Nick Batum in as a great defensive presence and a great three-point shooter from Portland. You have P.J. Harrison. You have Tyler Hansbrough still. Now he's in Charlotte, UNC. I mean, he is, he's popular there. I mean, look what he did. He was one of the greatest college players of his time. Just looking at, you have Spencer Hawes as a complimentary piece. You have Frank Kaminsky, who they got in the draft.
My twin.
You got Jeremy Lamb, who was big for the Thunder, as a complimentary piece alongside Durant and Westbrook. I mean, Charlotte has the pieces to slide back into the playoff mix. I don't know who would be out, but Charlotte did all the right things. And I think a playoff opportunity could very well happen. I mean, you look at who the bottom of the Eastern Conference was last year. Boston was the 7. I can't even tell you who Atlanta lost to first round off the top of my head. But you know what? It's a crap show. It's a crapshoot. I mean, you have the good teams, like we know Cleveland's going to be good. Atlanta lost to Mark Carroll, but they'll probably still be pretty good. The Bulls are always going to be the Bulls. Toronto and Washington run their divisions. I mean, you look at anybody between 6 and 11 from last season is in the mix. Between Milwaukee, who with Michael Carter-Williams and all them, gave the Bulls a really good run for their money. You look at the Celtics, coming off last season, got a lot of nice things done. Brooklyn always seems to be, will Darren Williams get traded? Brook Lopez, I mean, all the talk is just constant over and over again. What's Brooklyn going to do? Because Brooklyn's window closed within a year. Indiana will have Paul George back. You have Miami, having Dragic and Bosh playing together with Wade and everybody else in Miami. Well, that's a big deal. And you have Charlotte. I mean, it came down to 5 games between Brooklyn and Charlotte. So, you know what? We'll see about it. But, man, Charlotte. Jeremy Lin might give them the spark that the Knicks really wish they could have, and they could very well regret. When we come back, we're going to do a little bit of what grinds Kyle's gears and Jeopardy and a couple other thoughts. So this is the Jube Alert on WNIA, Niagara University's Mix and More Radio.
Missed the show? Don't worry. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jube Alert, for the inside access with Greg and Kyle. That's the Jube Alert, Mondays and Fridays, 1 to 2 p.m. on WNIA Radio, Niagara University's radio for Mix and More.
Hi, Kyle Barker here for the Jube Alert. Be sure to connect with us on our Facebook and Twitter pages, or email the show at thejubealert@gmail.com. Missed the show? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jube Alert, for inside access and replays for the show. That's the Jube Alert, Mondays and Fridays, 1 to 2 p.m. on WNIA Radio, Niagara University's radio for Mix and More.
You know what really grinds my gears?
How on earth does Barry Church not make that tackle? It's not that hard. The secondary was horrendous last night for Dallas.
Wait a minute. That's the smartest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything.
In their hands, we're going to overtime if we can just make one stop. One stop. No. CJ Spiller, 80 yards down the field.
It's time for what grinds my gears with Kyle Barker.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Hello and welcome back to the Jube Alert here on WNIA Radio, Niagara University's radio for Mix and More. Who's ready for some things that grind my gears? Don't have very many today. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a very surprisingly good mood today. Greg is sitting back and just waiting. He doesn't know what I'm going to talk about.
I never know what you're going to say.
Well, you know, my first one today is Tony Romo, my beloved Tony Romo.
Would you expect anything else?
Well, there was a report that came out the other day that Tony Romo, at the end of the Patriots game, went, you know, when the players all get together and, shake hands, tell each other good game, whatever, exchange jerseys. Well, Romo told Tom Brady, yo, I'll see you in the Super Bowl. Come on, Tony, come on. Got a lot of work before we get to the Super Bowl there, buddy. Lots of work for the Cowboys before we get to the Super Bowl. Oh, Tony. But you know what? Positive side. I'm going to look at the glass half full here. At least he's thinking big and thinking for the big lights and the Super Bowl. It's really all I have. Actually, no, I do have one more. Syracuse football. Jeez Louise. Terrible loss. Horrible loss to Virginia. Horrible. That's all I have.
I believe horrible is how that's broken down.
That was terrible, as Charles Barker would say.
Terrible.
But you can't lose to Virginia in 3 overtimes after having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Your quarterback Eric Dungy makes a very well deserving top 10 play, hurdling the Virginia defenders into the end zone. Didn't even make SportsCenter's top 10. That's what grinds my gears. Really upset with that.
Just like in PTI, what we missed out on, at least so far, the Knicks did not have the worst record in the NBA. They were one game better than the Minnesota Timberwolves, who finished the year 16-66.
Oh, wow.
Third place was the Sixers at 18-64. So there's a little something we wanted to change about a little bit. But let's get into Jeopardy. Let's see how this goes. What do you have on tap for this week?
Alrighty, Greg. Well, we have a different thing for you today. We have a boxing question for you today.
I'm out.
You're out? I think you'll be alright. You don't think you're going to be able to do it?
If it's a big name of the past, yes. But if this is some guy from the Caribbean I've never heard of, then no.
Okay, it occurred in 1990.
Okay.
It's a big upset. Okay. Which boxer was an underdog with the odds of 42-1 when he stunned Mike Tyson in 1990?
Okay, I've got one name in mind, and I don't think it's right.
You never know, though.
But I'm going to say Evander Holyfield.
It was that. Nope, not Evander Holyfield.
I know Evander Holyfield was the one the ear was bitten.
Yep.
That was that incident.
That was in the 80s, I believe.
Other than that, and George Foreman, I can't think of anybody.
His first name starts with a B and his last name starts with a D.
B and a D. Wow. Let me ask you, did you know this before you looked it up?
I did.
You did know this?
I did.
Oh, you picked a good one this week. Wow. B and D.
We'll give you 10 seconds.
All right. Wow.
5,
yeah, this is tough.
4, 3, 2,
Boris Diaw.
1. Oh.
Seriously, Boris. He fought the Frenchman Boris Diaw when he was like 10.
No, it was no, not Boris Diaz. Does the name Buster Douglas ring a bell?
No.
Really?
Nope.
Well, Buster Douglas was the man who defeated Mike Tyson with a 42-1 odd.
Wow. Yeah. No idea.
No idea, really.
No idea on that one. I knew Evander Holyfield was his time. But other than that, I mean, 90s boxing, George Foreman was before that, I believe.
Interesting.
A little before Mike Tyson, but I remember hearing about Mike Tyson had a big upset loss to somebody, and it was
Buster Douglas.
Buster Douglas. Okay, well, didn't see that coming today, but that was a very good question, actually.
I'm glad to give you a good question there, Greg.
Yeah.
Alrighty, though. When we come back, we're going to very, very quickly preview Monday Night Football with the with the Giants and Eagles, the other New York team other than the Jets. This is the Jube on WNIA Radio.
Hey, everybody. This is Greg Jube here. Are you interested in music such as pop, rock, rap, and R&B? Are you interested in catching up on what's trending in the world of sports and around the area? Well, tune into the Jetfish Show starring Joey Jeffrey Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern on WNIA. It'll be a fun and exciting hour with Joey and the rest of the gang. That's the Jetfish Show, Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern on WNIA, Niagara University's Mix and More Radio.
Welcome back to the Jube live in the Gallagher Center basement here at NU. Here are your hosts, Greg Jube and Kyle Barker.
Alrighty, we're back here live on the air in the Gallagher Center basement. Kyle Barker here alongside with Greg Jube, wrapping up today's Monday show, wrapping up the October 19th show here in the Jube Alert. Going to quickly recap, or not recap, we're going to quickly preview the Monday Night Football game tonight of the New York Jets and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles come to town and visit the Giants. I'm going to very quickly throw it out there and say that I am picking, I hate both teams. Picking the Giants to win this game. Kind of need the Eagles though, because the Eagles have a worse record, so that would help the Cowboys if the Eagles could win. So for once in my life, go Eagles.
All right, looking at the injury report for this game down in Philly today, Victor Cruz is still out with his calf injury. Prince Mukamara damaged his pectoral big time. He's definitely out. Ruben Randall with the hamstring, he will be good to go. Odell Beckham last Sunday night injured his hamstring against the Niners. The reports are, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, that he will be good to go. Robert Ayers with the hamstring is also questionable. John Beeson as well with a concussion. As for the Eagles, the big name Ryan Matthews is questionable. He did practice all in full this week, but that groin injury, we will see where that goes. A couple things I want to touch on before we go. Two things. Number one, Daniel Fells, the Giants tight end who contracted MRSA in his foot and had to undergo over 5 surgeries. His condition has improved, and his foot will likely not need to be amputated. His prognosis, according to NFL.com, is optimistic. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. Just what is it with the Giants and people having to starting to have risk of missing ligaments?
According to after battling this MRSA infection, it's finally gone well after nearly 3 weeks. He's undergone 7 surgeries so far. I mean, it can't be cured with antibiotics, MRSA. Real chance he will be released from the hospital this week. In addition, doctors believe they will now be able to save Fell's foot. Amputation had been a serious concern throughout the process. I mean, it's something Tampa Bay's locker room had the same thing. Carl Nixon, Lawrence Tynes, and somebody else had it. They contracted it in the locker room.
Oh, locker rooms are disgusting. I'm totally not surprised by this at all.
At least, according to NFL.com, also at least 2 more surgeries are scheduled, mostly to ensure that the infected area is clean, properly medicated, and washed out. The infected bone has been removed, and antibiotics are currently treating his lungs. When he is allowed home, he is not contagious. He'll have a nurse and a physical therapist for several months, so he's got a long road ahead, lots of rehab. As one source close to him, he's been through so much. He is unlikely to return to the field, obviously, with his foot basically, permanently damaged. So, good news for Daniel Fells. Really glad to hear about that. Best of luck with the long road. It's a sad story, but I'm glad it's not the worst thing that could have happened.
Same here.
And then also,
real quickly, let's get to Thursday Night Football. Really quickly.
Just wanted to touch up on baseball really quickly.
Oh, yeah, baseball now.
Players Tribune just released an article published written by Barry Zito announcing his retirement. Former AL Cy Young winner announces that after his 15 seasons between the A's and the Giants, Zito will finally hang it up like many expected. Zito spent much of the time in AAA Nashville for the A's this season before he got called up at the final month and got to face Tim Hudson in a game in Oakland. Zito's main accolades: 2002 won the AL Cy Young and was the AL wins leader, and played a big part in the 2012 Giants World Series team, and made 3 different All-Star teams for the A's, 2002, 2003, and 2006. Zito is 37 and looking forward to his new life, songwriting, and following his newfound faith, thanks to his wife and Jesus. So, best of luck, Barry Zito. Congratulations, 165 and 143, and an ERA of just over 4. So, that all being said, let us now jump to where we were going with Thursday Night Football.
Picking the Seahawks.
Seahawks at 49ers. Obviously, San Francisco maybe has a little momentum now, but they're still 2-4, just like Seattle. I just don't see San Francisco. It was a nice win over the Ravens, but the Ravens also have a horrific pass defense. The Seahawks do not have a horrific pass defense. It is pretty strong, and they've proven themselves with the Legion of Boom. Seattle will get back on track this week. They will get their first road win of the year. I'm taking the Seahawks by, I'll say 13. I'll say 27-14 Seahawks.
Seahawks by 3.
That close?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that saying more on Seattle struggling or San Francisco bolstering it up?
San Francisco's improving a little bit. Could have gotten a win against the Giants. They've had 2 quality games in a row here. And the Seahawks they're not crumbling because the Carolina game was good, but nonetheless, those 4 losses don't sit well in the minds of those players in that locker room. So Seahawks for me I just forgot who I picked.
Seahawks.
Seahawks by 3. Thank you. Wow. God.
It's only Monday. Don't worry. Believe me. It's worst part of the week.
Finish her out, Greg. This is your show. Finish her out.
Any thoughts? Anything else?
None for me.
Tap on? Okay. So that's again tonight. ESPN Giants at Eagles. Thursday night on CBS and NFL Network. Seahawks at 49ers to see who can get to 3-4. As always, make sure like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just type in Jube Alert and search for Jube Alert, not Job Alert, as it will appear. So yeah, that is going to do it for today. Alongside Kyle Barker, I am Greg Jubert. This has been the Jube Alert on WNIA Niagara University's Mix and More Radio. Have a great Monday, everybody.